Hello, my name is Claire Nagel. I am a contract specialist on the USDA Foods team. I will be presenting how to complete and when to submit the Equipment Grant Specification Form PI-6208. First, we will review the process and purpose of this form. This form will be included in the initial Equipment Grant application packet. We will be reviewing the details necessary to ensure your application is complete and the specifications of requested equipment will meet operational needs. The main goal of this form is to have a successful solicitation and comparable bids are obtained. Please do not release this completed form to bidders until you have been notified by the DPI school nutrition team of your eligibility for the equipment grant and approval is given to proceed to the step 2 of the process. To begin filling out the form, download the PDF to your computer and save to your files. Complete the form electronically for each piece of equipment you are requesting. Save the completed form and send to DPI EQUIP GNT at dpi.wi.gov as an attachment by the deadline indicated. Late documents may not be accepted. Now we will review the sections of the form. The first section is general information. Complete all fields. As a reminder, the agency code is 5 or 6 digits and is a unique identifier for your agency. Section 2 is purchasing terms and conditions. This section specifies to the bidder details of bid term, award, payment, and invoicing. Please note, the bid should be in effect for 6 months. You may find when requesting bids that this timeline is questioned. Encourage bidders to take this timeline into consideration when submitting a bid. Request them to document on bid any known scheduled price updates. It is important that the terms listed align with your SFA's procurement policies and procedures. Please add any additional terms and conditions. Examples may include specific delivery or installation times. Maybe there are also new building access or COVID-19 building visitor procedures. The bidder needs to know this up front to ensure the bid is inclusive of all terms and conditions. Read through Section 3, Scope and Purpose. Since this form serves as your procurement solicitation document, this area has been pre-filled to meet grant goals and inform the bidder of the purpose for your request and why the piece of equipment is needed. Moving on to Section 4, Responding to Solicitation. Complete all fields to specify where bid is to be returned and what the bid due date is. Generally, bidders are allowed a minimum of 2 weeks to respond. When submitting this form to DPI, leave the bid due date field blank. This date will be determined at the time bids are sent out for solicitation if your SFA is eligible to proceed to Part 2 of the equipment grant process. Section 5, Equipment Requirements, is very important. The fields of this section need to be specific to ensure the SFA is obtaining comparable quotes from bidders and equipment will be installed without any additional cost or unanticipated frustrations. First, define your piece of equipment and if it will be replacing an existing equipment or if it is new. Notice in our example that the equipment requested needs to have a clear description. It is not simply a dishwasher. We are defining the specific type of dishwasher along with other necessary options. Next, explain the intended use of your equipment to include projected utilization. Product specifications must be researched and pre-planned to clearly communicate your needs, but must not restrict competition. If a brand name and model number are mentioned, an equivalent product must be allowed to ensure open and free competition. We obtained the equipment type, model name, model number, capacity size, utility and plumbing requirements, type of controls, and laboratory certifications from the manufacturer's model specification sheet. To build your specs, work with a food service equipment broker, your prime vendor, or equipment supply vendor. For more details on networking resources, reference the Equipment Grant Specifications webcast posted on the DPI Equipment Grant webpage under Resources. For utility, plumbing, and HVAC, network with your school's maintenance, buildings and grounds directors, or other qualified personnel to ensure new equipment will meet building codes, match existing infrastructure, and any building permits are obtained. For equipment requiring numerous connections, it is highly recommended for best results to request a walkthrough from each bidder. During COVID-19, you could hold a virtual walkthrough if you are not able to hold in-person visits. Normally, one walkthrough is held for all bidders. Do not forget to specify material type and any finishes. For example, if there is a certain grade of stainless steel, we did not feel the need to distinguish grade with our example, but this might be necessary for the type of equipment you are requesting. Lastly, you may need to elaborate more on a particular performance need or safety feature. In our example, we mentioned Energy Star and needed to share additional plumbing requirements. Since this is a high temperature dish machine, we also shared the minimum rinse temperature required to ensure sanitation. If you have any additional features that are necessary to meet your needs, include that under the additional features text field. Our next section of the form is 6, shipping freight costs. The most common method of delivery is FOB, free on board, to cover any loss or damage during transit prior to delivery to the school. This cost is included in the bid. Ensure that the delivery address is the actual location where the equipment will be installed. Once the order is placed, the number of calendar days for delivery is 60 days in our example. If you are planning to order a custom piece of equipment, you may need to allow for more time. The last sections are other requirements. These sections include details that you need to be aware of and make decisions on to ensure successful installation and longevity of use. Part of the bid can include the removal of equipment. Be aware that disposal of equipment can be challenging and costly. Evaluate the best option for your operation. A site visit can lead to greater success in obtaining equipment that will meet your operational needs and match the infrastructure and space. While most equipment includes a standard warranty time frame, this may be increased at your request. Maintenance agreements is another option that can be required. It is important to define the terms and conditions of the agreement, such as 2 years, routine and preventive maintenance to include service calls, labor, and parts. Another requirement to think of is the removal of packaging once equipment is delivered. This cost needs to be considered to avoid additional trash removal expense. For equipment that requires several hookups, such as electrical, plumbing, and HVAC, it is best to have the bidder define any subcontractors needed to complete the installation. Lastly, other requirements you may wish to define or clarify may include demonstration and in-person training on cleaning, maintenance, operation, and safety. You may also wish to include a photo or drawing or blueprint of your space. The time and effort you dedicate to defining your specifications and preparing your solicitation can result in a very successful procurement of your equipment and a level playing field for all those vendors wanting to do business with your school. In closing, another reminder that this form should not be released to bidders until you have notified by DPI S&T of your eligibility for the equipment grant and approval to proceed to step 2 of this process. Feel free to contact the Wisconsin USDA Foods Procurement Team with your questions. Thank you for joining us in this training.